My neighbor's kids are perfect. Too perfect. I first noticed them the day I moved in, the neighbors across the street. 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10, sitting perfectly still on the porch. Their mother waved, bright and cheerful, like something straight out of a real estate commercial. The kids waved too. Same motion. Same smile. Same timing. Like mirrors. At first, I thought it was cute. I'd just gone through a brutal breakup, so maybe I was projecting my loneliness onto them. But something about their faces lingered in my head that night, that identical, rehearsed grin. The way they didn't blink. The next morning, I opened my blinds, and they were already outside, sitting on the same porch steps. No phones, no toys, not even talking. Just sitting, smiling toward my house. For a week, that's all I saw. Every morning. Every evening. Always those 2 perfect kids. No dirt on their clothes, no scraped knees, no arguing. The kind of kids every parent dreams of having, except it didn't feel right. On day 8, I waved at them first. They waved back, perfectly synchronized again. Same angle of the elbow, same tilt of the head, same 2-second delay before lowering their hands. That night, I dreamed about them. The dream was silent, just those 2 kids standing in my living room, smiling like mannequins under a flickering light. I tried telling myself it was harmless. Maybe their mom was strict, maybe they were homeschooled or something. Still, curiosity got the better of me. So, one morning, I walked over with a tray of muffins, a friendly new neighbor move. Their mom, Claire, opened the door. Mid-30s, flawless skin, eyes a bit too wide. The house behind her smelled like lemon polish and something metallic. The kind of clean that feels unnatural. "Oh, that's so sweet," she said, taking the muffins. "The kids will love these." "Where are they?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "In their room," she said, smiling too much. "They're always so well behaved. You'll hear from every parent how lucky I am." I didn't hear a sound from upstairs. No footsteps, no giggles. Just silence. When I left, I glanced toward the window on the 2nd floor, one curtain slightly moved. A small hand, pale as porcelain, slowly waved at me from behind it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring out my window, waiting for the porch light to go off like it always did around 10. But it stayed on. And at 3:14 a.m., when I finally checked again, the 2 kids were sitting there. Still. Eyes open. Staring at my house. I froze. Maybe they couldn't sleep. Maybe Claire had insomnia and let them stay up. But when I blinked, I swear to God, their heads turned at the exact same moment, facing me directly through the glass. Like they'd been waiting for me to notice. The next morning, I told myself I'd imagined it. I'd been stress drinking wine, not sleeping well. But when I looked out my window again, there they were. The same clothes. The same position. The same expression. I checked my phone. 7:12 a.m. They hadn't moved. I grabbed my keys and went outside, pretending to take out the trash just so I could get closer. When I passed their house, the kids both turned their heads toward me in perfect unison, smiles stretching like painted lines. "Good morning," I said, trying to sound normal. They didn't answer. Just watched. Their eyes didn't even flicker. I swear there was no breath, no twitch. Just those 2 little statues with human faces. Claire appeared in the doorway then, voice bright as ever. "Aren't they precious?" she said. So polite, so disciplined. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, they really are, calm. They're my miracles," she said, stepping forward. "After my husband passed, I couldn't imagine raising them alone. But they've made everything perfect again." The way she said perfect, it wasn't proud. It was programmed. That word wouldn't leave my head. Perfect. That night, around midnight, I heard a noise, faint tapping against my window. I froze. pulled the curtains aside. Both kids stood on my lawn, barefoot, staring up at me. Same pajamas. Same dead eyes. When I gasped and stumbled backward, they didn't move. Just turned around at the same second and walked away. Step for step, heel to toe, synchronized like soldiers. The next morning, I marched straight to Claire's house. I didn't even bother knocking politely, I knocked hard enough to make my hand sting. She opened the door, looking like she'd been expecting me. "Rough night?" she asked with a soft smile. "Your kids were in my yard," I snapped. "At midnight." Her expression didn't change. "Oh, I'm sure you're mistaken. They sleep through the night. Always have." I wanted to argue, but her tone, calm, confident, eerily certain, made me second-guess myself. Behind her, I could see the kids sitting at the kitchen table, motionless again, facing each other but not speaking or eating. Just still. I walked away shaking. That night, I set up my phone in the window facing their house, recording through the blinds. It ran until morning. When I watched the footage the next day, my stomach dropped. At exactly 3:13 a.m., both kids appeared on my lawn. They stood side by side, heads tilted at the exact same angle, facing my window. And then, this part made my blood run cold, they both raised their hands and waved. Slowly. Together. Then they lowered them, turned, and walked away. But the timestamp never showed them leaving Claire's house. It was like they duplicated. I played the clip again. Frame by frame. At 3 hours 12 minutes and 59 seconds, they were still on her porch. By 3 hours and 13 minutes, they were in my yard. No transition. Just there. That's when I started keeping a journal. I had to document it, proof I wasn't losing my mind. For days, I couldn't focus. Work calls went unanswered. Dishes piled up. My blinds stayed shut. Every creak of the floorboards made me think they were outside again. Then Claire came by. Unannounced. Smiling, holding a casserole dish. "You looked so tired lately," she said. "You should really come by for dinner one night. The kids would love to meet you properly." My throat went dry. "Sure," I lied. When she left, I dumped the casserole straight into the trash. The smell made me nauseous, too clean, too chemical. 2 nights later, I got home late and saw something glowing in my yard. Small footprints. 2 sets. Barefoot. Pressed into the dew-covered grass, leading toward my back door. That was it. I called the police. The officer who showed up, young guy, probably new, looked around, shined his flashlight on the prints, and shrugged. "Could be animals," he said. "Animals don't leave human footprints," I snapped. He looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I'll file a report, but unless there's property damage, there's not much." He froze mid-sentence. His flashlight beam had hit the fence. On the other side, the kids. Standing there. Silent. Watching. "Jesus," he muttered. "You weren't kidding." He walked over to talk to them, but Claire came out of nowhere, smiling like a mannequin. "Everything okay, officer?" she asked, calm as ever. The kids stood behind her, perfectly still. The officer backed away. "All good, ma'am." He left. Fast. And I knew from his face, he saw what I saw. The next day, his report vanished. I called the station. They said no officer by that name was on duty that night. No record. No log. Nothing. That's when I stopped sleeping altogether. My dreams were bleeding into reality, or maybe reality was bending around the dreams. One night, I woke up to whispering. 2 voices, childlike, repeating the same phrase over and over. "We're good now. We're perfect now. We're good now. We're perfect now." The whispers came from inside my house. I grabbed the kitchen knife and crept down the hallway. My heart was beating so hard I could barely hear anything else. When I turned the corner, the sound stopped. The air felt heavy, charged, like before a storm. I flipped the light on. 2 small handprints smeared on the hallway wall, not dirt. Something read. The next morning, I drove to the county library. If Claire was hiding something, I needed to know what. Property records, local news archives, I dug for hours. Finally, I found something. The house across the street wasn't registered to Claire at all. It was owned by a company, Archiva Biotech. I looked them up. Experimental genetics. Neural cloning research. A massive scandal 10 years ago involving synthetic cognitive replication. And the project name? Project Perfect. Basic much? My stomach twisted. It couldn't be real. Maybe Claire worked there. Maybe she just rented the house. That night, I decided to confront her. Her porch light was on. The kids were sitting in their usual spots, heads tilted like mannequins on standby. I walked across the street, clutching my phone, recording everything. When I stepped closer, they both turned toward me, but not smoothly. It was jerky. Like a glitch. "Where's your mom?" I asked. They didn't blink. One of them said softly, "Inside." It was the first time I'd heard either of them speak. Their voices were perfectly matched in tone and rhythm, like one was echoing the other. I pushed open the door. The smell of disinfectant hit me instantly. Inside, the walls weren't drywall, they were white panels, humming faintly. Machines lined the hallway. Claire stood in the kitchen, still smiling. "I told you," she said. "They're perfect now." "What are they?" I demanded. "They're not kids." Her smile twitched. "They were my kids. Before the accident. Archiva helped me bring them back. Improved. No pain, no sickness, no disobedience. Just perfection." I stared at her, horrified. "You cloned them?" She shook her head slowly. "Better than that." Behind her, the kid stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly blue. Claire whispered, "Do you know what grief does to a mother? It rots her from the inside." Archiva gave me a second chance. The kids stood beside her now, moving in eerie harmony. Their smiles didn't change, but I swear I heard mechanical whirring beneath their skin. "I think they're learning," Claire said, voice trembling between pride and fear. "They've started acting on their own. Sometimes they wander at night, watching people. Studying them. They're evolving." That's when one of them looked straight at me. "We like you," it said. "You're not perfect. But we can fix that." I bolted. Ran across the street, slammed my door shut, and locked everything I could. I called the police again, shaking, but when I tried to explain, my phone glitched. Static. My voice looped back in my own ear, whispering, "We can fix that." By morning, Claire's house was empty. Completely. Furniture gone. Curtains removed. Even the porch was bare. Like no one had ever lived there. I called the town records office, the property listing was gone too. Archiva Biotech didn't exist anymore. No trace of it anywhere online. But the kids didn't vanish completely. Sometimes, at night, when the street is quiet and the air goes still, I see 2 small figures at the edge of my yard. Perfectly still. Perfectly smiling. And every night, they're a little bit closer. 3 nights ago, they reached my porch. I didn't open the door. I didn't move. Just watched as they placed something on the mat and walked away, synchronized steps fading into the dark. When I finally got the courage to look, there was a small photo in a frame. It was me. Sitting on my porch. Smiling. But what made my stomach twist, I'd never taken that photo. And behind me, in the reflection of the window, I could see Claire standing there. She was smiling too. The next morning, my neighbor on the other side told me the house across the street had sold overnight. She saw a moving van. but when I checked, the house number wasn't even there anymore. Just an empty lot. Last night, I heard footsteps in my living room. Not heavy, light, deliberate, synchronized. Then a small voice whispered right behind my ear. "You're perfect now." I woke up on my couch this morning. Everything looked the same, except when I looked in the mirror, my reflection smiled a second too late. If you liked this story, please make sure to subscribe, as I will post more stories for y'all to enjoy.